Happy Friday, Pat. That's in honor of Halloween coming up.
Hey, nice one. Nice intro.
You know, I thought it would be better than us going, are we on? Are we on?
Yeah.
Are we live? It can get kind of wonky, but when you have these 10 and 15-second countdowns, you got time to screw things up and then you just automatically show up. So welcome. We left last week on the day that Trump said he had COVID. And we said, man, I'll bet it's going to be a wild week. And it was just a big nothing burger.
Yeah, true.
Could have a little tweak here, a little tweak there. This Friday, we're back to normal.
Yep, he's back to normal.
So it's
got his $100,000 dose of Regeneron.
Yeah, is that? Yeah.
He said that's how much it is.
$100,000.
That's what they.
What's the copay?
That's what they said. The average initial dosage. Yeah. Well, if your insurance is going to cover it.
Yeah. Jeez. So here's where my head's at today. And this, first of all, welcome to our millions and millions of viewers. Again, you know, we do this at 3 o'clock after the kiddos are out of school so that we don't screw up the bandwidth at YouTube. But we said when this first came out that we were going to have to watch the numbers because we thought things were going to get ugly and get ugly fast. Because remember, when they did the stay-at-home order, right after that, spring training shut down. Everybody that had VRBOs, they were empty. Restaurants then closed down, and there was no way that things were going to be normal, right?
Yep.
So we started tracking and looking at how many homes are available and how many homes are selling. And after we got past May, I thought, well, when people start seeing just how well homes have sold in June and July, by August, we'll start seeing more listings coming on. And by the fourth quarter in October, we'd start seeing that the economic news is so bleak that people will be forced to sell their homes. So that's where, you know, my prognostication is. But now, after looking at all these numbers all this time and doing a deep dive into the Cromford report, and I'm going to go into a lot of detail on that today, because I think it's really important for people to see this. I don't feel we're going to see a price decrease in the next year and a half. And I think when you look at these charts, you'll begin to understand why I say that. And, you know, that's bad news for people that are out there waiting for, you know, home prices to come down. Now, having said that, if home prices continue going up at the rate that they are now, we may see some buyer activity start to slow down just because people are getting outpriced.
Yeah. So
I'm going to share my screen because I've got some interesting stuff. There's the Cromford report. Just let everybody know what that is it's headed up by, what's his name? W.P. Carey School of Business, Michael Orr. Yep. And he's not a realtor. He is a mathematician from England. So when he got out here to Arizona, he started looking at how places like Case-Shiller started looking at numbers and CoreLogic. And he said they're not tracking things the correct way. Their forecasting model is off. So he put together a forecasting model that's called the CMI. And the CMI has 7 years of history of active listings, pending listings, and monthly sales. And out of this, he gets a number. 100 is a balanced market. 90 is more in favor for buyers, right? Anything above 100 is an advantage for sellers. So they track it every week. And we get a weekly chart of CMI numbers by city. Because anything we see from CoreLogic is a national number. By the way, CoreLogic said we were going to be down 1% this year in values. And at first, when I saw how bad things were hitting us, I agreed with him. But I wasn't looking at the right numbers. Now I don't agree with them. And Case-Shiller looks at national numbers. They don't look at what's going on regionally. So So I'm going to share my screen here and show you where we are in our CMI. And it's going to look kind of goofy here for a minute. So this is the CMI by city. Now, remember when I said that 100 was normal? Look at Avondale, 645. That means, there's maybe one house for every 10,000 people out there. Chandler, 411. Everybody's not just past 100, but they're blowing it out of the water. So what does CMI mean? So here's where another chart comes up. And this gives us a pretty good historical perspective. Because, we're all comparing things to the crash of 2008, right?
Mm-hmm.
The CMI is an indicator that if you follow it, it tells you that something is going to happen. Either prices are going to go up or prices are going to go down. So if we look at this chart all the way from 2001 to 2020, the first thing that's going to stick out at you is off to the right. We're up here to CMI of 348, right? We go back to 2005 and 6, and we had a CMI of 312. That's when you had all this investor activity and everything was going crazy. And then the CMI started going down. See that black line?
Mm-hmm.
See the severity of how fast it went down? But then take a look at this. Prices kind of start going down here. That's the blue line. So the CMI turned here. Prices still went up.
Yep.
But the CMI was telling you that they were not going to keep going up. The CMI was telling you that they were going to go down. And they went down. CMI peaked in 2005, started to turn in 2005, and they went down at the end of 2006 and crashed 2009. So you get a long warning with that CMI number that things are changing in your market. You go back and you look here, 2011, 2010, nobody was telling you to buy a house because the CMI kept going down, right?
Yep.
It was in negative territory. Well, it went up.
Nobody wanted to buy them.
Right up here, as the CMI was going up, nobody was buying except the smart money.
Yep.
Everybody's like, oh, it's not good. It's ugly. It's not looking good. And then look what happened. 2 years later. So the indicator was in 2011. The escalation was 2012 and 2013.
Interesting.
Then the CMI starts going down again, right? Go out a little further and prices go down. Chairman Powell in 2018 said, well, we think market rates can go up right now. Let's raise rates a little bit. The CMI turned. Prices took a little dip down here. And then the CMI started coming up. CMI had a huge dip when they said, uh-oh, stay-at-home order. Everybody panicked. And then it just took off like a rocket. And look at prices. So what's going on with prices? And that's an interesting one. And Jill, are you on? You're going to like this. So first of all, we need 3 times the current supply that we have now. And today our supply is 8748, which is almost a 3.5-4 month high on inventory, but it's seasonal. We always start to have more listings come in October. So it's not a breakout moment. It's just a seasonal uptick because the number of homes under contract and pending are still rolling about 4,400. But we need 3 times that current inventory to get to that 100 balance level. We need about 2 times of that inventory for the bidding wars to stop.
Yep.
So those are the numbers to watch. That 8,700 is going to have to be rolling in between 14 and 16,000 before we see bidding wars in the 300s and 400s start to stop, right?
Wouldn't you agree that back in the day, the average supply was about 25 to 30,000 homes? So
the average supply was 3.5-4 months, which was about 25 to 30,000 homes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now we have 1.2 months, and in some markets, 1 week supply.
In some markets, 1 day.
Yeah, it's Incredible. So something for the CMI to change, which is, inventory. So imagine the type of event that it's going to take for all of a sudden to have this huge spike in inventory. So we're seeing these homes at forbearance. We're seeing the forbearance numbers coming down, and we're seeing the number of loans that are late still being a small number. Last month, we had 99 foreclosures for the month. During the big rout between 2010 and 2012, we were averaging 10,177 foreclosures a month. And in 2008, prior to that, rent was falling from 2000 to 2005. Right now, it's going up astronomically.
Yeah.
So not only is house prices going up, but rent's going up. The number one, here's the top 5 cities for appreciation year-to-date number. Cave Creek, 23.1%, number 1. Number 2, Jill's House. Sun Lakes, 23.1% annual growth in price per square foot. That's staggering. Arizona City's number 3 at 19.4, and Scottsdale at 19 in 1 year. So homes are clipping along and following that CMI model. And CoreLogic says we're going to be down 1%. So we're going to have to go from having a year where we're up 20% to negative numbers by Christmas in order for 2021 to look that bad. Now, we're starting to see white collar layoffs. We're starting to see more stresses in business. We're seeing Congress not helping at all. They're throwing footballs back and forth on stimulus, but it's sad that we have to have stimulus just to keep things going. But people that have jobs and that can afford, to buy a home are taking advantage of that low rate, and they're doing it like crazy. So what do you think, Pat? I mean, what's your gut telling you on those numbers?
I'm sitting here mesmerized by your information. You're killing me. You're making me look bad.
Well, no,
it's amazing information at CMI, because the charts will tell you everything, and I'm blown away by the appreciation. People are still out there. I mean, you look at the forbearances. I mean, looking back, even if you have a handful of those, percentage of those forbearances going into foreclosure, they really won't even get to foreclosure because, there's right now, how long do you think it's going to take for people who are looking for a home? If you got a house that's in jeopardy of going to foreclosure, that's not going to probably, right now, that's not going to be on the market that long.
Well, most of the forbearances that are out there now, the next reset is going to be the end of December. In other words, people have forbearances till the end of September, right? Yeah. Or till the 1st of September, August 31st.
Think about this too, though. Real quickly, forbearances we're talking about, I just kind of thinking off the top of my head, this is something just, you got a lot of forbearances out there, potential, but are we really, questioning, we talked about this 6 months ago about, forbearances might lead to foreclosures, but if somebody does lose their job, Jim and Mary Smith, if they're in dire straits, chances are, based on those appreciation numbers that you've just discussed, a couple seconds ago, we're going to see very few foreclosures, because Jim and Mary Smith, they know they're in trouble. They'll list their house right away. Correct?
Yeah, I have a client that was looking for a waterfront property in Gilbert, and I sent him the email yesterday and said, "Here's one right here. It's a great price, $439." Woke up this morning, it's pending.
Yeah.
God.
What I'm saying, does it make sense? I mean, I'm kind of thinking, outside the box, just off the top of my head, that, maybe we won't see a ton of foreclosures because, once again, back in 05, 06, people can't compare that crash. If they think it's going to crash here, you can't compare that, because, like you said, once again, I was right there in 05, 06, 07. The main impetus for 05, 06, 07 was really bad loan underwriting programs. They were allowing people to leverage on these interest-only programs, and interest the 4 payment type of plan, negative amortization loans. So you don't have those anymore. So I think kind of after talking to you listen to those numbers. I mean, people do get in trouble if they get $150,000 equity. They don't want to get to the point of foreclosure because they're going to lose that.
Well, even if let's say that they're facing foreclosure. So the next reset is the end of the year, right? December 31st. So now on your forbearance. So now you got to go to your bank and go, okay, how do we settle this? And some of the banks will say, well, we'll just add it on to the end of your loan, or we'll increase your payment, or you can sell your home, or we're going to have to foreclose. Well, they can't foreclose at the end of the forbearance period immediately. So it's going to take them 90 days to get ready to foreclose, and then another 30 days to put it on the market, and then another 45 days for it to close to even be recorded. So you're sitting there looking at January. It's not going to be ready to start foreclosures until March. It won't hit the market until April and won't record until mid-May. So what that's saying is between September and almost all the way up to June, you're not going to see any price declines, because those so-called forbearances are going to turn into foreclosures are not going to hit the market yet.
Yeah.
And many of them won't, to your point, because if you're that strapped and you're looking and going, wow, the inventory numbers are still low, I can sell the home. We better get out of this. But for anybody that was tracking numbers on inventory back in 2005 and 2006 could see there was a problem coming. So there's plenty of opinions on YouTube, and plenty of guys I'm taking very seriously, like Ken McElroy, where he is outlining that confidence is going to get really low here, and we're going to see prices come down. And I agree. I just don't agree with the timing. I don't think it's going to be mid 2021, because if it was, we would have to see changes in the inventory numbers now, because the changes in the inventory numbers now coming down is going to have to double just to get us to normal. I mean, to get us to non-bidding, triple to get us to normal, and quadruple in order to start seeing some depreciation. Well, when was the last time that inventory quadrupled in a 60-day period?
Right.
Never.
Yeah.
So it's going to have to be really dramatic. Even if we had a resurgence in COVID that made us lock us down again, I don't even know what that looked like or what that means or how fast that effect would be on the market. That stuff's impossible to tell. So you kind of have to erase all the outside noise and just look at the charts, look at the numbers. Right now, there's no denying people are buying like crazy, and it's not just Phoenix, folks. It's every state in the union except New Jersey, New York, and San Francisco.
Yeah.
Even Seattle, with all of its troubles, is having a huge increase in sales. And we're going nuts. So it's interesting. I still hope that the bidding wars start coming down soon, because that's a miserable way to have to go out and buy a home. And it's going to be people that bought 6 months ago or yay, you get up 23%, in an annualized growth. So you're up, 10, 15% on the value of your home in 6 months. That's pretty sweet.
Yep.
But another thing I wanted to show you here, I'm going to share the screen because I got a question for you. We keep hearing about lending is getting tighter. And when you go to the Federal Reserve, this is called the net percentage of domestic banks tightening standards. Look at that chart. They're tightening up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you go to this thing called real estate loans, all commercial banks. So if they're tightening, what's the lending activity look like?
Should decrease.
No. So does that mean, Pat, that the lending has tightened the restrictions, but our borrowers are far more qualified than they used to be?
Yes, they are. I mean, the average credit score right now is about 740, 750, believe it or not.
So the ones that are out, so there's plenty of people out there that, even though the banks tightened, it didn't affect them at all.
Yeah, I think I think the last couple of years, people have realized that they've got to have their credit. Back years ago when you had, loose standards, anybody could get a loan. They were just getting, if you had a 610 or 615, 620 FICO score. But I think this new generation, the people that are out there looking for homes, I think they're more attuned to their credit. I'd say very few people I come across the last year or so are, they all have a kind of a clue of what's going on. I mean, there's a few people that call me that, you hang up the phone and you're like, you're not ready to buy, but that's maybe 10%. I'd say 9 out of 10 people, 8 out of 10 people, these, especially not that I want to categorize people in age groups, but I'd say I'm seeing a big percentage of people in the 28 to 38, 40 year range that are pretty dialed in as far as what they need, what they need to do in terms of how much, they need some money to put down in their credit. So
they're saving their money. And the people that were still working when they got those checks from the IRS, they paid down their debt.
Yeah.
That's why Senator McConnell was going, well, I don't know if we need to send out any more checks because it never made it into the general economy. And the people that are laid off are in the hospitality industry, restaurants and, the lower tier wages. But so that's, they're being affected right now. But there are people that own those businesses that are paying those people or not paying those people now anymore. And those things are closing. We have the lowest number of Chapter 13s in history. And it's because these businesses are quietly closing. Like, I'm not even going to bother Chapter 13. I'm out. They're just quietly closing.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It was something to the tune of 400,000 businesses. It's very rough. What credit score is 640 even considered in the ballpark for being able to get a loan now?
Yeah, you go FHA, typically people go FHA at 640, 650 range, 3.5% down. FHA is a little bit more lenient in terms of credit, credit qualifying. On conventional, they start really 660 is the break point for conventional, but between 660 and 720, the government agencies, what they do is they put obviously a pricing, what they call a loan level pricing adjustment on. So if you're 660 to 680, you're buying a home, that price adjustment it could be about 2 points. So if you're buying a $400,000 home, that's going to be an $8,000 pricing difference in your fees. So you're still able to buy a home. It's just going to be more expensive.
Yeah. And so it's going to be more expensive, but right now it isn't more expensive than it was 3 years ago in terms of what your payment would be. And I agree with our viewer here, King of the North. It's been strange, dramatic years, so nothing can surprise me at this point. I hear you. It's I don't know what to think anymore.
No, I don't either. I swear to God. I mean, after watching COVID, the riots, the debates, I mean, this whole thing, who knows what's going to happen.
Sports. How do you watch sports now? I was down at BJ's, and they got these big screen TVs. I'm down there having dinner the other night. I'm watching the NBA, baseball, and football. And I said, hey, where's hockey? I mean, there's no seasons now. It's just all seasons have disappeared. Phoenix has a season for buying and selling in real estate, when things go up and down. And we don't have a real estate season anymore. And there's no seasons in sports. And then the Cardinals are supposed to play this weekend, right? But is it the Jets that somebody got COVID, so they all pulled out?
I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that today. But
Yeah, yeah.
so, but no, I mean, the going back to the rates. I mean, the rates have been, um, once again, they've been flat. I think the Feds, the bond market's waiting to see if we see that stimulus. If they do, I think it's going to hurt bonds a little bit. If we do see that stimulus come out, I think bonds, the market's been pretty steady on the rates. But and then the market has kind of absorbed that half a point FHFA hit, that refinancing hit on conventional loans. They're all the lenders are taking that in the consideration now. So your costs have kind of gone up on conventional refinances a little bit recently. I think once these settle in, past, it's December 1st is when the loans have to be delivered. So, it's been hurting bonds, the mortgage rates a little bit, but overall they're still, low threes, high twos, low threes.
Are we seeing a lot of people taking cash out on refis?
Yeah, I've seen a few. I mean, I typically, if people take out cash out on refis, I typically try to steer them. I could do it, but you bring up a good point. A lot of people call me up and say, "Hey, Pat, I want to refinance my house. I got $300,000 loan. My house is worth $500,000. I want to take out $30,000 or $40,000. Let's say $30,000. But with the cash out, depending on your credit score, I've kind of discouraged people, just do the rate and term refinance and try to go to a credit union to get that home equity line of credit, because if there's a cash out pricing hit, and it just depends on your loan to value, your credit score. But in some cases, I've seen it to be 1.5 points, 0.75, on the whole loan amount. So if you're looking at $30,000 cash out, and your loan amount, say over 300, say you're 1.5 points, that money, that 30,000 could end up costing you $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 just for that, because that pricing hit is on the whole loan amount. So unless somebody's in real dire straits, I try to do the right thing and try to tell them, hey, I try to discourage people taking cash out if they really don't need it, because you want to get a loan, you want the loan officer to run the numbers and say, what is my cost? Like you said before, what is my cost for getting this money?
Yeah. So Jason's got a question down below. He said, what's a common offer these days? How much over asking is winning bids on houses in the 350 range? Boy, over 37% of homes right now are going above asking price in all price ranges, especially in the 600,000 right now. In that range, it depends on, there isn't a solid number that I can give you, Jason, except that it depends on the number, on how much traffic they had. So you got a $350,000 house and they priced it higher than they should because they think they can sell no matter what, then they're not getting anything over bid, over asking price. There won't be any bidding wars. But if it's a $350,000 house and it's in a good neighborhood and you've had 25 showings the first day, you can count on that 350 probably hitting 370, 380.
Yeah. Well, it's like the one,
and we're seeing that.
As the example I did last week, my client bid on house 450. They had about 15 plus offers. He offered 480. They gave it to him, but the house appraised for 505.
Yeah. Yeah. So we got Carlos here wanting to know what kind of webcam I use. Carlos, believe it or not, Pat and I have the same webcam. It's a Logitech. And the difference is I've got Cox and you have what, CenturyLink?
Yeah, I'm not going to comment on that one.
I have 300 MPS and Pat has a hamster.
I have about 30.
Yeah, so it's all about broadband. But Pat has a nicer place. So, he doesn't need that, all the fancy broadband stuff. So, but it's all about the lights. And I've got a couple lights here, one there and one there too as well. Cause as you know, I do a lot of YouTube videos and stuff, just about every other day. It's a hobby. and just trying to keep everybody up to speed. So I think I encourage people to do a lot of research. We're certainly not the gospel here, and we're spitballing, guessing just like anybody else, but we're trying to look at the numbers and see what's going on. So Pat, what do you?
Well, I just want to jump in for that one gentleman that was talking about the overbid. I think it goes back to, from my standpoint, being the mortgage guy, when I've seen agents, I think it boils down to how good your agent is in terms of knowing the numbers. If you got no offense, if you got an experienced agent, that knows how to negotiate, knows the numbers, and if you ask them a question, what do you think? And if they give you kind of just a cheap $5 answer,
Yeah, Jason, I'd put it this way to Pat's point. So let's say you and I went out and looked at a house and you liked it, and you say, what should I offer them? Well, first of all, how pre-qualified are you? So in other words, Pat pre-qualifies your loan. Are you pre-qualified or are you pre-approved? Have already gone through underwriting? How much of a down payment are you putting down? How big of an earnest money do you want to put down? So if I'm looking at price and you come in and you're a strong borrower, you're either pre-approved or your pre-qualification is really solid, and your down payment isn't 3.5, maybe it's 10 or 15%, which I'm seeing a lot in that price range. And nobody can get a quick close now. If you're financing, you're going to be, 35, 40 days out. It's not always about price to the seller. So at that point, I would say, well, hold on. And I would call the agent. I go, hey, this is Rick with EXP. Look, we're very interested in your house. Can you tell me if you have any offers right now? And then they'll say, yes, we've got 2 that we're looking at. Well, do you have any that you're going to counter on, that you're considering? Can you tell me if your offers are over list? Because they can say that with the permission of the seller. So I can't talk anything about offers coming in to you if I was, the listing agent, without permission from the seller. In other words, hey, do you mind if I tell people, yeah, I got an offer for 355? I think it's in your favor if I do that. So now the guy tells me, goes, yes, Rick, we've got 2 and they're over offer. And I go, are they strong? So I just dig. And it's not trick. It's just I dig. And then I just say, okay, well, look, we're going to get back to you and get the offer. And then you and I will sit down and try to discuss where we're at. So are appraisals catching up to the askings? Pat, what are you seeing on appraisals?
Yeah, they are. I have not been. I can't think of an appraisal that came in on a purchase. Like you said, this one last week, they put off. It was offered at 450. He put a bid at 480. Came in at 505. So appraisals have a tendency. What I've seen, they kind of lag everything. When things are going up, they're catching up even further, and when they're going down, they kind of lag too the other way. So when you start to see a market decline, so appraisers have been, and like I said, there's a lot of times with people that put 20% down, you can possibly get a property inspection waiver where you don't have to get an appraisal.
Yeah. So the short answer is it's not always about price. I mean, I've seen people come in with lower prices, but they write this, really professional letter and say, here's why I want to move here. My kids want to go to school. I work down the street. This house would be perfect. Then they're looking at a bid that's 5,000 higher than yours. And they go, well, I just want to help that guy.
Yep.
That happens. And it drives me crazy when I lose one for that.
Well, just that makes a good point, because actually that I keep going back to this 450 example, but it was just, I was amazed that, like you said, listed at 450, went offered at, got 480, and got 505. But the listing agent, I talked to her. 2 things I want to mention. I called the listing agent right away. I explained the situation verbally that the clients have been looking for a house for 9 to 10 months, that I was working with them for the last 10 months, that they're pre-qualified, solid people. I explained their story. And the listing agent went to the seller, and she told me this after when I called her. I called her after they got the accepted offer. I go, hey, thank you very much. And she said the client had gone through the same thing that my clients have been going through, and he really felt bad for them. And that's why he accepted their offer. And another thing is, me calling the selling agent showed her that I was on top of the deal, that she was going to get updates, the phone calls, because there's nothing worse than when an agent doesn't get any word. If the buyer's going through a call center, they're not going to call the listing agent or the buying agent, the listing agent. They're not going to call her at all.
Yeah, that's important too for people that are out looking, is working with your lender. And when you're writing an offer, let your lender know, hey, Pat, I just wrote an offer on, house on Mercury. And if I give you the agent's number, can you give them a call?
Yep.
And then when you call, so they've got an offer, and now they're starting a relationship and a connection with the lender, and you're going, look, let me tell you what I know about this guy. Let me tell you what I looked at, and let me tell you how confident I am this is going to go through. And is there anything else you need from me? And here's how I promise to communicate with you through the transaction. And you have saved deals for me by making phone calls. And so it makes a huge difference, because if you're just an agent that's just going to write an offer, email it, and sit back and wait, well, you're not going to get it.
Yeah.
Not in this market. And
Exactly.
you need to call the listing agent before you write the offer, just for the mere fact that, hey, look, if they got 25 offers already, then you're going to have to come in hot, and your client might not be in the mood for that. And I had one where a guy says, hey, I want to see this house. And I said, all right, let me call. And I called and I go, they got 25 offers already. He goes, I'm not playing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I'm okay with that, because if you've ever seen how much paperwork's involved just in writing an offer, it'll blow you away. It's these guys that say that they can do it on their iPad or on their phone. And I go, no, you can't. I mean, maybe they can. I just have never learned to do it. So I struggle. I'm a techie guy too. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I know. If you can't do it, I don't know many people that can.
Hey, Jason, if you want to know what kind of equipment I use, if you go to my YouTube channel, on any video, in the body below the video, I've got a list of all the equipment that I use, like my lights, my camera, my microphone. And but thanks for asking. It's if you're into this, it's fun. So Pat, so next week we're kind of waiting to see if the bond market does anything, because right now it's just going like this, and so's inventory. We got a little bit of a seasonal bump now, but it's not enough. Yeah. And I thought we were seeing some signs that inventory was starting to grow, but then when I did some digging, I just saw that, no, that's just the way October is. The interesting thing is going to be December. Yeah. December's always painfully low. Yeah. Well, how much lower can it get?
I tell people real quickly, I sort of jump in, but I think I always said that December, from a buyer standpoint, is always one of the best times to be looking for a house, because people are interested and they're more concerned about buying Christmas presents and everything else. And when you get those real serious sellers and you got a serious buyer, you might slip in there unsuspected, because like you said, the holidays always distract a lot of other people.
Well, and actually I'm glad you said that, because December's actually best ironically for both the buyer and the seller. It's better for the seller because the only people come and look at their house are serious people, because there's maybe a job location and they need to be there in January. They need to close. And so the sellers, the only people that are coming are the hard hitters and the serious people. For the buyers, you have less competition.
Yep.
And you're looking at beautifully decorated homes. Everybody's got them all decorated up for Christmas, and they smell good. And I mean, you're not going to go visit it on Christmas Day, but no. But I listed my house in Fountain Hills on Christmas Eve and had a contract on New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
And the buyers were from out of state. Your out of state travelers are here Thanksgiving, the Friday after Thanksgiving is a great time for agents to hold open houses because everybody's out with their relatives. Let's go look at the market, see what's going on. Great time to list a home. And December is, I think, perfect because you're not going to have, 45 people traipsing through your home. You're only going to get serious people. The rest of them are at Best Buy.
Exactly. That's what I found out. Yeah. So, all right, sir. Just want to get that in there.
Good to talk to you again. And for our millions and millions of viewers, actually, we got up to 1,012,000 today, which is good. The 12 are real and the million are made up. And what YouTube does is when we hang up here, it processes the video and puts it on later tonight or tomorrow morning, so you can watch it in your morning coffee.
There you go.
That's what Pat does. So I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. See you later.
All right, buddy. Have a good weekend.
You bet. Take care.
Bye-bye.